Ms. Stefanik.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for your leadership and for your service. In my district, which is New York's 21st District, I represent two of our nation's premier military installations, Fort Drum, which is home of the 10th Mountain Division, and Kesselring, which is a naval nuclear training facility. My first question is for General Milley, and it's regarding Army's aviation readiness. The 10th Mountain Combat Aviation Brigade is currently supporting Operation Atlantic Resolve throughout EUCOM, and I have serious concerns that the CR could limit future aviation capabilities and training opportunities like the ongoing deployment of the 10th Mountain. Could you describe how a CR would impact the Army's aviation readiness specifically, its training, and on top of that, the pilot shortage that the Army is already experiencing?
Thanks, Congresswoman. I appreciate that, and climb to glory for the mighty 10th Mountain Division. Shout out to the North Country. A continuing resolution or a return to BCA would have significant negative effect on Army rotary wing aviation. We're already short 741 pilots, which we're trying, if we can get the budget passed with the supplemental, we'll try to make that up. But if we don't get the budget passed with the supplemental, we're not going to make that up, and that's going to increase several hundred more, and that's across the entire total Army with the act of the National Guard and the U.S. Army Reserve. For the National Guard specifically, there's about 1,300 pilot seats available in a given year, or that won't be available in the following year as a result of a continuing resolution. Those would be National Guard and Reserve seats. There's about another 1,000 seats that might not be available for the regular Army. We are going to try to preserve and fence the flying hour program for those already qualified pilots that are in units, although I must mention that the standard is about 14 hours, 15 hours a month of rotary wing flying. We've reduced that over the last 8 years. So the new normal, if you will, is something around the 12 or 13 hours, but we're going to preserve the 12 or 13 hours. We don't like the new normal, but the flying hour program will try to fence that. For units that are deploying, we'll make sure that they get the appropriate levels of training to deploy into combat. And the last piece is upgrading the fleet. The continuing resolution or BCA is going to prevent us from putting active protective systems for missile defense on the aircraft. We'll not be able to upgrade some of the modernization efforts we have inside the cockpits. We're going to be short on the munitions and Hellfires, et cetera, for the Apaches, and most importantly, we're not going to be able to buy the additional Apaches we need to fill the holes in the existing force structure for both the regular Army and the National Guard. It'll be a significant negative impact on Army aviation.
Thank you, General Milley. And my second question is for Admiral Richardson. I understand the second moored training ship requires a new start and full funding this year to provide training for nuclear operators. And I'm asking this question in context of Kesselring. What is the current status of the second MTS, and how would a CR create challenges for the Navy if it is not funded and allowed to start in FY17?
Ma'am, great question, and thanks for your support of Kesselring and everything that they do up there. There's been a fair amount of talk about a balanced approach, and that everything that has to do with national health and particularly national security doesn't all reside in defense. And Kesselring is a great example of that, where a lot of that site is supported by the Department of Energy and NNSA, and so it's critical that we understand those relationships. And if we're not training operators and developing new nuclear technologies up there, we're training them on our moored training ships. And this second moored training ship is the next generation. Right now we're using ships that were built in the 60s to do that. They're the oldest operating nuclear power plants, I think, in the country. And it's time to recapitalize those. This is a new start. There's been a lot of talk about funding flexibility. A continuing resolution is the opposite of funding flexibility. It is absolute funding rigidity. You have to continue to do the things you'd like to stop. You can't do the things you'd like to start. One of the things I'd like to start is that second moored training ship, and I can't do it with a CR.
Thank you. I yield back.